Okay, well, hopefully this isn't blurry to you guys. I don't know what's happening with it, so. I don't know why it looks blurry. Oh, that's so frustrating. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm not sure why the video is blurry today, so I apologize to anyone that's watching, but I hope it doesn't look blurry to you. I'm going to turn my light on and make sure that it's light enough at least. And go ahead and take your socks off. I just realized I had mine on still. If you have yours on, take them off if you can. It's hard when it's cold, but it's good to have them off when we're doing yoga because it helps us to really sense our feet on the ground when we're doing our poses. So anyway, let's start seated today and bring a little bit of energy into our day. I'm feeling a little sluggish myself, so maybe we'll kind of try to bring some positive energy into our life for the day, and maybe we can also project some energy to others around us. So come to a comfortable seat. Again, like I say every time, you can have your legs out in front of you if that's more comfortable, or folded underneath you so your ankles are under your knees, or having your shins stacked, or even having your ankles stacked so a little bit wider. There's lots of variations on the seated pose to begin, and so it's just kind of up to your comfort level. Just begin to come into the room, come into your practice, begin to deepen your breath. So slow inhale to start and long exhale. Just begin to fill your belly with air on the inhale. And empty the belly and soften on the exhale. Try to also picture expanding your rib cage and lengthening the spine upward. So on the inhale, lengthen the spine up through the crown of the head, up towards the sky. And on the exhale, exhale the back down the spine and into the floor. So try to release any tension on the exhale. Inhale and expand and lengthen. Exhale and release. Follow your own rhythm of breath, so not trying to copy mine or force the inhale and exhale. Just noticing your own rhythm. And on the last exhale here, bring your hands to the sides of you, fingertips on the floor, and then turn the palms up and inhale the arms up above the head. Exhale the hands down the middle of the body. Inhale, exhale, and bring the fingertips away from the body, so pointing outward, and arch the upper back here. Inhale and open, so lifting the chest here, opening up across the shoulders, lifting the chin slightly. Exhale, empty the belly and fold forward slightly. Inhale, bring the hands back to the chest. And then inhale the hands up the body. Exhale and bring the hands behind you. fingertips pointing away from the body and open up the front of the chest here. So lifting the chest up towards the sky, just slight lift in the chin here. And then bring the hands in front of you and fold forward here. So bringing the head towards the floor, not necessarily to the floor. Notice any areas of restriction as you fold forward. Reaching out through the fingertips. And then inhale and walk the hands back in. Lean back slightly, untuck the legs, and then retuck in front of the other side, so the other leg in front of the other. That makes sense. And then walk the hands forward again, forward fold. You might notice a difference from one side to the other, which is perfectly normal. Keep breathing into the hips here. Inhale, bring the hands back up. And then hands back to the sides. Inhale the left hand all the way up. And then bend the elbow and place the palm of the hand on the back of the head. And walk the right hand out towards the right. Leaning over with your left arm so your left elbow is pointing up towards the sky. So opening up the front of the shoulder at the same time as you're leaning over here. Keep breathing. Inhale back up. Release the hand back down. And then inhale the right hand up. Lengthen, and then again bend the elbow, placing the hand on the back of the head here so the palm is against the back of the head, and then reaching out with the left hand. Keep that left shoulder away from the ear here, and then open up that right shoulder here. Inhale back up. And release the hand back down. And we'll do a twist here. So inhale that both hands up. Reaching and reaching. And then slight twist to the right. So the right hand is behind you. The left hand is in front of you. Inhale and lengthen the spine. Exhale and soften into the twist. And maybe if you want to go further, bring that left hand to the right knee. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and soften into the twist even further. And then inhale the hands up, lengthen. Exhale, bring the left hand behind you, right hand in front of you. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to soften. Again, bring the right hand to the left knee if you want to go a little bit further. Not necessarily pulling on the left knee, but lengthening up, twisting even further to the left. Exhale and soften into the twist. Inhale the hands up. Exhale back down. And then we'll come into hands and knees next. So palms and fingers are nice and wide in hands and knees. Your feet are directly behind your knees. Knees are under the hips. Hands are under the shoulders. And we'll just do a couple cat-cow here. So inhale and exhale. Empty the belly and arch the back up for cat pose. Inhale and melt the chest towards the floor. Slightly untucking the tailbone here. Exhale, empty the belly. Arching the back up. Inhale, melting the chest to the floor. And then come back to center. Bring the right foot behind you. Ball of the foot is still on the floor. And just begin to push out with the right heel here. So lengthening in the back of the leg, the calf, the back of the glutes. Really pushing out with the right heel here. And then come back up on the ball of the foot. Bring the weight into your right hand. lift the left hand up and lift the right leg up. So the toes are pointing towards the floor, the hips are level here. Pick a focal point for balancing, and then release the hand, release the knee, and come back into table, and then reach the left foot back. So pushing out with the left heel here, again lengthening the back of the leg, really feeling the power through the heel here, the energy flowing. And then come back to the ball of the foot, put the weight into your left hand, reach out with your right hand, and lift the left leg up. Again, pick a spot that's not moving in front of you for balance to focus on. Toes are pointing towards the floor. And then release the right hand down, release the left knee down. And we'll just come into a child's pose here. So if it's more comfortable, you can bring your knees out wide and then just sink your hips back towards your heels and reach out your hands in front of you. Rest your head towards the floor, to the floor. And then come back forward. And we'll come into our first downward dog. So tuck the toes under. Begin to lift the knees off the floor. Lift the hips up into the sky. Keep the knees bent here for the first downward dog. And melt the chest towards the thighs here. Wrapping the upper arm bones down towards the floor. Reaching out with the hands. And also really focusing on reaching out with the heels here. So maybe you want to bend one leg and straighten the other and begin to alternate and pedal out the feet a little bit here. Getting ready to straighten our legs and stretch out the hamstrings. Maybe it feels good to sway your hips back and forth, kind of like a wagging dog, like we call it. Lift your heels up off the ground, up on the toes, and then bring your heels towards the floor, so straightening out as best you can. And then look forward between the hands and begin to walk your way up towards your hands here into a standing forward bend. So bring your head down, relax your head down. Relax your hands towards the floor, to the floor. And again, you can keep a slight bend in the knees if needed here. I know I say that every week, but it's okay if your legs are not completely straight. Hamstrings are a finicky thing. And then begin to just roll your body up to standing into mountain pose. So slowly roll up. Allow your head to arrive last and arrive in mountain pose. So notice the midpoint of your feet. Find the balance in your feet. Feel the inner leg line, the energy coming up, lifting. The outer leg line pushes down into the floor, rooting and grounding into the floor. The navel comes to the spine, the tailbone drops between the heels. The shoulders open, back and open. Fingertips are pointing towards the floor. And just imagine the strength and stability of mountain pose here. Remember this as a foundation for all the other poses that we do today. Inhale and sweep the hands up to the sky, reaching out with your fingertips, maybe gazing upward into upward hand pose. Lifting and reaching, and then hands out to the side again and fold forward. Again, relaxing the head into the pose here, really releasing into the floor.
Come halfway up, hands come up the shins, flat back here, parallel with the floor, and then fold forward again. Place the hands on the floor and step back to downward dog again. So this time really focusing on drawing the heels towards the floor, so keeping your legs as straight as you can here. Without overdoing, of course. You don't want to hurt yourself. And then bring the knees down to the floor and come into a plank. And we're going to lower down to the floor however is best for you. So I'm going to come down knees, chest, and chin. So knees, and then drawing my chest towards the floor and my chin, keeping my hips elevated, and then lowering my hips, pointing the toes, and come up into a low cobra. So lifting the chest and the shoulders up above the ground. And then lower back down, tuck the toes under again, and come back up to table pose. And then back into child's pose. So again, if you want your knees to be open here, you can soften the hips towards the heels, lower the head here. And then come back into table pose. We're going to do what's called thread the needle. So bring your hands in line with your shoulders again. Bring your left hand just directly under your face. And then draw your right hand out to the side and up to the right side. And then sweep the right hand under the left arm and reach out to the left here. Bring your right side of your face to your left hand on the floor. And breathe. Notice if there's any areas that are sticky or tense. Then push into the left hand to come back up. Bring the right hand back over. And then bring the right hand in the middle here. Sweep the left hand up. Keep it underneath the right hand. Bring out with your left hand to your right. Up in the air. And a nice twist in the mid-back here. Push into the right hand to come back up. Bring the hands back in line with the shoulders. And then walk the hands just about 1 or 1.5 hand lengths in front of you and come back into downward dog. Breathe. Inhale and look forward in between your hands and walk or step forward into standing forward bend again. Maybe nod your head yes here and shake your head no. Just release any tension that you're holding in your neck. Worries, doubts, anger, frustration, anxiety, anything that's not serving you right now, you can just let that drain right out of the top of your head here. And then come halfway up with your hands to your shins, flat back, and fold forward. And then we're coming into a lunge, so keep your right foot forward with your hands and step your left foot back. And then lower the left knee to the ground, point the left toes, and come up on your fingertips here. So really notice that you're feeling a good stretch in your left thigh here. And then bring the hands to the right knee, lift up, Maybe stay here today if that's enough for you. If you want to go a little further, you can release the hands, lift them up and over the head, maybe gazing upward towards the hands or not. Bring the focus forward again, hands on either side of your right foot, and then begin to draw the right heel forward just slightly. So straightening out that right foot, or right knee, excuse me, in between your hands here. So if you have blocks at home, this is a good time to have blocks that can, lift you up a little bit more. But if you don't, it's okay to just have your hands kind of, your fingertips to the ground, and really just working to straighten that right leg, not necessarily keeping it super straight, only what is comfortable for you for today. And then slide that back in. Untuck the toes of the left foot, come back up into a high lunge, and then bring the right knee to the chest and reach the right leg out into three-legged dog. So reaching out with the heel, pointing the toes down towards the floor, and then release the foot back down into downward dog. Look up towards your hands and then walk or step forward. Fold forward. Inhale and bring the hands all the way up into mountain pose. Touch the palms, hands to the heart, and check in with your breathing here. Notice how you feel. Release the hands and fold forward again. Come up to a half lift here, flat back. Fold forward again, and this time we're going to step the right foot back to a lunge, and then lower the right knee down, point the toes on the right foot, and again, come up into your fingertips here, so leaning forward on the left knee here, stretching out that front of that right hip, and then come back on the right knee and lift up to the left knee here. So hands are on the knee. And again, stay here if you want. If you want to go further, you can release the hands and bring them forward and up. Reaching up overhead, maybe gazing upward. Look forward and then release the hands back down. Slide that left heel forward. Straighten that left leg as much as you can. Come up on the fingertips here. And maybe you want to fold forward, but maybe you just want to stay here. Whatever's best for you. We're just working on the back of the hamstring here. And then slide the heel back in. Hands to the sides of the leg. Untuck the toes, lift the right knee up, and then slide that left leg back. Lift up into three-legged dog if you want, or just come into downward dog. And then release the leg back down into downward dog. Breathe here. And then come forward into plank. So you can come into a full plank if you want, or come back down into your knees for a half plank. And then lower down to your belly again. Untuck the toes. Lift up to low cobra. Release back to the belly. And then pillow your hands in front of you and rest your forehead on your hands, the back of your hands. And just breathe here for a moment into the floor. So use the floor as a point of contact for your breath. So try to feel your belly on the floor as you expand with the inhale and soften and empty with the exhale. And then lift the head and bring the hands in front of you into a Sphinx pose. So the elbows are underneath the shoulders here, the palms are flat to the floor, and you're lifting the chest and head, looking forward in front of you. And maybe if you're comfortable, you can just look slightly over the right shoulder towards the right heel. And then back to center. And maybe looking over the left shoulder as well to the left heel. And come back to center. And then release the hands back down to the low ribs and push up into a table. And then lift up to downward facing dog. This time look up towards your hands and bring your right foot forward between your hands again. And then this time we're going to walk the hands over to the side here. So we're going to point the toes towards the long edge of the mat and come into a wide angle stance. So the hands are between the feet and your toes are parallel with the short edge of your mat. Bring your hands in line with your feet if it's comfortable, or you can bring them just in front of your, by your face. Whatever works best for you today. And then just fold forward just like we do when our feet are together. So just release the head down towards the floor. Release any tension here.
Mommy.
Sorry about that.
And then when you're ready, bring your hands to your hips and come all the way up to standing. So staying in our wide angle stance, we're going to just rotate the right foot on the heel here and then bend into that right leg. And we're going to come into a warrior two. So before we do the arms, let's check in with our feet and make sure that the left foot is, the toes are pointing towards the long edge of the mat. The right foot, the toes are pointing to the short edge. And we're bending into that right knee. Palms facing up to start. Bring the arms parallel with the floor here. And then look over the right hand and turn the palms down towards the floor. So really pay attention to the warrior stances, powerful and strong and stable. Try to channel that energy while you're in this pose. Release the left hand to the left thigh, and the right hand goes up and overhead, maybe gazing upward towards your hand. Reverse warrior. And then release the hands back to warrior two. Straighten the right leg. We're going to come into triangle pose. So bring the left hand to the left hip and reach forward with the right hand. So reaching and reaching here all the way forward before you fold over your right leg. I'm not using blocks today, so I'm going to bring my hand to my right shin or thigh, or shin or calf. Or if you have blocks, you can also bring your hand to your block. So whatever works best for you. And then reach the left hand up and overhead and come into triangle pose. I always leave my head straight here looking forward, but you can also look up if that's comfortable on your neck. Bring your hand back to your hip. Bend that right knee and come all the way back up. And then pivot on the right foot again and switch sides. So pivot on the left foot, so the left foot is facing the short edge of the mat. The right toes are back facing against the long edge. And then bend into that left knee, stretching out through the inner right thigh. And then release the hands, palms facing up, parallel with the floor. And then turn palms facing down, looking over the left hand to start. And then release the right hand to the right thigh, reaching up and overhead with the left hand. Reverse warrior. Come back into warrior two. Straighten that left leg this time. Right hand to the right thigh, reaching forward here. Reaching out before folding over. And then bringing the hand down towards the floor, so towards the shin or the block if you have one. Open up that right shoulder and then reaching up with the right arm. Bend that left leg and then come back into warrior two. Pivot on the left heel, back into our wide angle stance. And we'll do one more forward fold here. So bring the hands to the floor. Release the head down. Come up halfway on the fingertips here. And then hands to the hips to come all the way up. And heel toe the legs back together. All right. So we're going to come to the back of your mat. So whichever side you want to be the back of your mat. Come into a mat's width stance. So your feet are on the sides of your mat, like you can feel the edges of your mat. And for the sake of not being by the wall, I'm just going to move a little bit forward. And then just bring your hands up and overhead and release them back behind you and clasp your hands here. So clasping them together as best you can, drawing the shoulder blades together. And then just begin to roll forward. So folding forward over your legs and drawing your hands up towards the sky. So the knuckles are pointing up towards the sky. And then release the hands to the low back first. Bring your hands to the floor in front of you and just walk your hands forward here. Come into a downward dog. Release the knees down to the floor. And then just kind of walk or crawl forward here on your knees and hands. And then sit back. We're going to come down to our backs. So feet are flat on the floor, knees are bent. And just so bring your hands to your knees and just lift the chest up here. So really focusing on straightening the back, lifting the chin just slightly. Notice if you feel like you're able to straighten your back a little bit better now. Notice the length of your spine after practicing. Try to remember that and try to carry that with you after your practice into better alignment and better posture. And then we'll just come into a boat pose. This is sort of one of those things I like to do as we work our way back to our backs. So release your hands to the back of your thighs and then begin to draw your right foot forward, straightening that right knee. And then release that down to the floor again. And then draw your left foot forward, straightening your left knee.
And release that back to the floor. If you'd like, you can continue to alternate and do right leg, left leg with the rhythm of your own breath. If you want to, you can do both. So rock back on your tailbone here, your sacrum, and then straighten both legs out to the side or to the front. Straightening both knees. If you want to do a full boat pose. Maybe just keep your hands on your thighs if that's better for you. And then release the feet back down to the floor. And slowly roll down to your back. So bringing the hands out to the sides, begin to roll the spine down one vertebrae at a time if you can.
Bring your feet a little wider than hips distance apart and just allow your knees to rest in on each other for a moment while we breathe. This just takes a little bit of tension out of the low back. And try to just feel your spine sink into the floor here. So really try to release the tension that you're holding on to. Breathe into your hands, maybe place them on your low belly, maybe place one on your heart and one on your low belly. Reconnect with your breath here. Inhale and lengthen, expand, exhale and soften. And then separate the knees, bring your hands to your sides, and release the right knee and bring it into your chest and just hug it in here. Release the right leg from your hands and then just cross the right ankle over the left thigh and bring your left thigh into your chest. Stretch out that right glute here, the back of the right thigh. Keep breathing. Release the left foot down to the floor, and before you uncross the right ankle, just bring the left leg over to the left and release the right foot down to the floor. So your ankle is still crossed over, just in a slight twist here. Inhale and bring the legs back up and then uncross the right ankle and bring the left knee into the chest and hug it in. Release the left ankle to the right thigh and bring the right leg into the chest. Feel the stretch in the back of the calf here, or back of the thigh here, and the glute and the left leg. And then release the right foot to the ground and bring your left leg over to the right. Or your right leg and your left foot is what I meant, sorry. And keep breathing. Inhale the legs back up and then release the left ankle. Bring your legs long here. And then bring your arms long overhead. And really give yourself a nice full body stretch. Try to see how long you can make your spine here. And then begin to walk your feet over to the left. So curving the side waist here. And then walk your hands over to the left. So we're coming into a C shape or a banana shape, if you will. Reaching out with the left or the right heel, reaching out with the right hand. Really lengthening that side waist here. And then come back to center. And walk the hands, feet over to the right and the hands over to the right. Again, reaching out with the left foot this time and reaching out with the left hand. And walk the feet back in, walk the hands back in. Bend the legs again, bring the hands to your sides. We're going to go into goalpost arms, so bent elbows here, palms facing up. And then shift the hips over to the right and drop your knees to the left. So if this is too much, you can bring your hands back to your sides. Or you can also place something under your knees if that's more supportive for you. Your knees are not together, they're just dropped over to the left here. Inhale and bring the knees back up. Come back to center. And then shift the knees or the hips over to the left and drop the knees to the right. Keep breathing. Inhale the legs back up. Shift the hips back to the middle. Release the hands down to the sides. And then draw the knees into the chest and hug them in together. Maybe rock back and forth. Massage out the low back a little bit here. And then circle the knees together. And reverse that circle. If there's any pose that you like to do at the end of your practice, feel free to do that now. Sometimes people end with a happy baby, so holding on to your ankles or the bottoms of your feet and drawing your knees in towards your armpits here. Full body stretch. And then release down. We're going to come into Shavasana now, so our final resting pose. Sometimes also called the corpse pose, which is sort of morbid, but it's in the tradition of yoga is a calming pose. So we're going to have a little bit longer resting pose today. Do a little meditation. So just come down onto your back, however it's comfortable. You can place a pillow under your head. You can also roll a blanket along your spine if you want to open up the shoulders a little bit, or lay on blocks if that's comfortable for you. So find a position that's really the best for you. You can also bring your legs up the wall. So let me just demonstrate, just in case this is something that might be comfortable. So you want to kind of scoot your hips towards the wall first, and then begin to lay back and bring your legs up. So you're really flush with the wall as best you can. Your feet are up towards the ceiling here. So legs up the wall can be, it's a form of an inversion. It can be a very calming pose for people to really settle in. Sometimes people put like a weighted something on their feet to really ground into their hips. So that can be a pose that is really good for rest. A lot of people recommend it for before bed.
it can be something that really calms us down, calms our nervous system down before bed. So just settle in however it's comfortable for you. Tune into your breath. Notice if your breath is softening. And just begin to let go of the tension in your body. So we'll start with the toes. Release the tension from the toes all the way down the bottoms of the feet into the floor. Release the heels and the arches of the feet. Imagine the tension just dripping off of your feet like water into the floor. Release the ankles and the shins. Release the kneecaps, the back of the thighs. Release the hamstrings. Release the tops of the thighs and the hips, the pelvis. Feel all the tension just melt into the floor. Allow the floor to carry you just for this moment. Know that you are safe and protected. Release the belly and the organs. Release the rib cage. Allow your whole spine to rest into the floor. Notice any tension just melting away from the spine. Release the chest and the shoulders, the shoulder blades. Release the upper arms. Relax the elbows and the forearms. Release the wrists, the palms, the back of the hands. Maybe give yourself just a really fast hand massage. Pull the tension out of your fingers one by one. Feel the tension melt and drip from the fingertips into the floor. And come back to the shoulders again. Just really feel the tension drip off the shoulders, just like water in the shower. Release into the floor. Release the neck and the throat, the jaw. Release the tongue and the soft palate. Release the teeth. Allow your jaw to be just soft. Release the ears and the cheeks. Release the nose, the eyebrows, the forehead. Focus on melting the tension away from the face. Let it drip down into the floor. Release the scalp and the hair. And let the eyes roll to the back of their sockets. Give yourself permission to drift just for this moment. Notice your breath softening. Begin to feel yourself coming back into the room. Deepen your inhale. Lengthen your exhale. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe reach your arms overhead for a gentle stretch. When you're ready, roll over to your right side. Stay there for a breath. Your left hand to the floor. Gently push your hand into the floor and roll up to seated. Try not to bounce your head up, so allow your head to come up slowly and come into seated again. Inhale and draw your shoulders forward and up. Exhale, back and down. Do that a couple times. Inhale, forward and up. Exhale, back and down. And release the hands to the sides. Inhale the palms up. Touch the palms. Exhale down to the center of your body. Bring your hands to your heart. Lower the head to meet your heart. Thank you so much for being with me today. See you again next week. Namaste.